Hey everyone, welcome back to My Understanding. Today I'm joined with a very, very close friend of mine. I've known him for a long time. This is Jerome. Today we have kind of a special episode as well. I wanted to kind of do this series on just uh, recovery and just people that have had like injuries or been told things either by doctors or physical therapists. And rather than kind of just trusting them, they tried to figure it out on their own and kind of go their own route and have had great success in that area. Jerome, I remember when it happened, and I remember kind of seeing you around that time of your injury. So, just to give a little backstory so that everyone can kind of understand what exactly happened to you, and when you had your injury, what happened, what were you doing at the time, and how did you feel?
Yeah, so I originally injured my back for the first time when I was in high school, power cleaning during like a football weightlifting session, um, as one does.
Yep.
And power cleaning weight that I probably shouldn't have been doing. It was way too heavy. My form probably wasn't really good. Actually, at that time, my parents went and took me to get X-rays and MRIs, and the doctors just told me that I needed to do more sit-ups and build my core strength. And so that's what I did for pretty much my whole 20s
Yeah.
until the incident that you're speaking of right now when I was 28, when I went and threw the football around, and after a nice little easy game of catch, I bent over to take my cleats off, and my back went completely out, and that began about a 2-year journey over the last 2 years where I just my back got progressively worse and never healed, or didn't start healing probably until like last year when I discovered some really cool resources, and then a personal trainer that has helped me come a long way.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, not about the injury. The injury is unfortunate.
Yeah, injury sucks. Yeah, injury sucks.
Yeah, that I'm sorry to hear about.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, it seemed like you're definitely not somebody who is like new to athleticism at all. Like, you've clearly come from a background where you've done lots of sports, done a lot of exercising.
Yeah.
So, you were already in pretty darn good shape when, the original injury happened. And then obviously this new one as well.
I mean, I might have been the best shape I've ever been in. I was like squatting 300 plus. I was benching 300 plus.
There you go.
Like I was in, but I wasn't deadlifting, and I wasn't doing anything that had to do with my back because I had injured my back when I was younger, and I figured if I was strong in the sense of like being able to do Olympic lifts, in like squatting and all that stuff, that the squatting would basically strengthen my core and strengthen my spine, and that is not how that works at all. So I just didn't really touch my lower back at all. I did a lot of like upper back and mid back exercises, but I avoided lower back to my own detriment. And that is what led to a lot of my issues when I turned 28.
Interesting. So I think that is new information to me. Is the injury when you were very young?
Mhm.
What happened there?
The original one?
Yeah.
It's just me power cleaning in the gym to that one.
Gotcha. Okay, my bad. I don't know why I thought you were talking about like even when you were younger that there was.
Oh no, that was the first time.
Okay,
Yeah, that was the first time.
Which still is a very brutal injury.
Yeah, that was like probably when I was like 18. And when you're young though, like the first time you injure your back, you recover within like a month. And then I entered into a cycle of injuring my back like every 2 or 3 years. And so I injured my back when I was 18, injured it again when I was 20 playing basketball, injured it again when I was 22, probably playing basketball or football, injured it again when I was 24, right? And it became like repetitive, like something I just know, like, okay, every 2 years or so, I'm going to be playing basketball and I'm going to go up for a layup or whatever, and my back's going to go out. And then I have like a month or two of recovery, and then I'm going to do a lot of yoga and core stuff a little bit, and then I'll be fine, right? And as I got older, like it went from being like 2 or 3 years to like 2 years to like 1 year. And then after I threw my back out, throwing the football around, it went from being like a yearly thing, or it went down to like weekly. And my back started going out like really consistently. First, like every couple of months, and then it quickly progressed towards it was going out like every Friday for some reason after work.
Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to clarify, because when you say your back is going out, I mean, this was no light matter. Like this was this was a serious thing because I remember I think it was Grace had actually like told me like, "Hey, Jerome's like in the hospital."
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
then,
yeah. Yeah, I mean,
like,
I mean, so let me tell you why this was such a terrible day. So after the reason it was such a terrible day was because I injured my back the day before I was gonna go and take a bunch of my friends and my future wife, my then girlfriend, up to propose to her in Tahoe. And so I'm over here bending over to tie my shoes. My back goes out, and I'm like, "Oh crap! Oh crap! Oh crap!" I gotta figure it out. So I like kind of I kind of get to my car. I go home. I take a shower, and I just load up on like ibuprofen. And I'm like, Lord, please just let my back be okay in the morning.
Yes.
And in the morning, my back was like 10 times worse. And then I made the mistake, which is a huge mistake, of not drinking enough water. And I stopped taking ibuprofen because one of my other friends, told me he was going to bring me something stronger, like a muscle relaxer.
Yeah.
And he just never brought it.
Oh.
And so I wake up at 7 a.m. in the morning. My back's already torn up. My roommate's helping like wheel me to the bathroom in an office chair because I can't walk and put any pressure on my legs. And I'm just waiting. I'm not drinking water because I don't want to have to get back up.
Yeah.
Right. Because getting up sucked. And around like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I started getting something called a back spasm, which probably what was easily the worst pain I've ever been in my entire life. And my back started convulsing, and like you can literally see the muscles in my back like tensing up and then releasing. And I just started screaming. Yeah. And so my roommate, I lived with like my friends who are married. Lisa at the time, I stayed home because I was so beat up, and she had to like call the paramedics to come and pick me up and take me to the hospital because I wouldn't stop screaming. I was screaming for like 30 minutes straight, like because I was like going through like what felt like labor pains in my lower back. And so I'm over here wearing no socks, wearing the same clothes I went to bed in, being carted out the house in one of those in the beds, like the what's that thing called?
Like a little gurney?
Yeah, in the gurney. Yeah, they gurney me down the stairs like I was a like invalid or something. And then they took me to the hospital and loaded me up with a bunch of drugs to make my back stop convulsing.
I just imagine your neighbors just seeing you getting like wheeled out of the house and this thing, just yelling in the middle of the street.
Yeah, just screaming. No apparent reason for why I was screaming. But just screaming, bro. My back was killing me. It was so painful.
Little did they know.
Yeah,
I know. That's yeah. So just to clarify, it wasn't just any small like, oh, he throws out his back, he's down for like a couple days. Like, no, this was a very serious thing. I mean,
oh yeah, I think it probably took at least a month before I was like back to some semblance of normalcy. Yeah. Of being able to get around again, like without like the little walker that old people use and all that stuff. Like it was real bad. It was not good. That was definitely the worst instance of my back going out. Yeah. And the longest recovery time. Yeah. And since then, like that moment is what began like the last 2 years of my back just not really getting better. Like that happened, and then like a month or two after that, like another instance happened, and then it kept happening. Yeah. Right. And I started realizing that my back was like quickly deteriorating, and started like figuring out some things. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely a big shock to the world that you were living at that time. Because I mean, I don't think anyone ever imagines, oh, my back gets thrown out. All of a sudden, I can't walk for like weeks and stuff. So. Yeah. I mean, on the bright side, you have a job that's very flexible, which is good. So like you're able to kind of do some work from home. But when you were in like the hospitals or when you were getting checked out, because obviously you got wheeled out to the hospital, what did they originally like tell you? What did they try and like give you information on?
Yeah, they told me that I had herniated disc in my back. So I have like 3 herniated discs. Not herniated, I'm sorry. I have 3 bulging discs in my back. Yeah. Herniated discs are different. That's when like the inner liquid in your discs are actually coming out. So my discs weren't that bad. They were just bulging. Yeah. But I have 3 of them. I think it's like my L4, my L5, and then like my sciatic one nerve or something like that. Yeah. And so they told me that if it didn't get better over the next year, that I would need to get back surgery. And they gave me like a referral out to like a neurosurgeon. So I had to go visit him. And all he did was look at I think he might have looked at my x-rays, and I might have had MRIs at that point. He just looked at them, didn't give me any advice, and just told me, yeah, they don't get better. Yeah, back surgery's probably in your future. And that was my meeting with the neurosurgeon. So I left the meeting thinking like, oh crap, I'm 28, I'm going to have back surgery in my 20s. And I was like, having back surgery is a pretty significant surgery. It's not like a surgery that you should take lightly, right? And so that scared me pretty good. That was basically their advice. They didn't give me any other advice. They gave me like ibuprofen and some whatever else drugs, and then they said
pat on the back, and
pat on the back, and said, "Yeah, we'll see you in a year." And so I was like,
That's
"Okay,
wild.
yeah, it's not good advice at all."
No. Yeah, I will say, like, I've worked with and met a lot of like doctors, and it is very unfortunate to kind of hear stories like that, because there are some like good doctors out there that actually will look at the test and kind of take a little bit of time and let you know like what actually is kind of going on, or at least give you a good estimate, not just be like, oh, yep, you're screwed, you're done for, good luck, kid. Like, no, taking the time to actually look it over and give you the advice and just talk to you about what you can do to recover, or at least give you like your first steps even.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, that instance, like that experience was one of the first things that began to key me into when it comes to like our healthcare system. There's different types of doctors, and it really matters who you go and see. Like my current doctor, he's not too much older than me. His background is in kinesiology. He has like degrees, certifications like in physical therapy, and he's also like a doctor, right? I forget what his actual thing is, like a DO or something like that. And so when him and I interact, like his advice is significantly better, because he's not trying to prescribe me with drugs or trying to get me onto the surgery table. He's looking at my whole body, and he's like trying to holistically figure out how do we make sure that Jerome's doing better, like that I'm doing better. And so, but I didn't know that at the time. I also didn't know that I had to advocate for myself. I didn't know that doctors, they see so many patients that they get so used to prescribing the same remedy for everything they do that they don't oftentimes take the time to really diagnose what's really happening in your body. And so that was my first probably experience where I was like, I need to really start looking into how do I fix my own back, because I do not want to get back surgery. Right. And so that began like a journey of I started going to a chiropractor for like the first time, which is I have like really good, I have an opinion on chiropractors now that I've gone through it. I've been to a chiropractor. I did chiropractic for like a year. I had a personal trainer for a year. And then the thing that finally worked was going to a physical therapist that has a background in training athletes who are currently in sport, and then athletes who have since moved on. And like getting a PT who when you walk into their clinic, like it looks like a gym, like that's what you want. Right. That's what right. And like when you go to a PT, if all you see is old people and they all look like they're on their way out at some point, sometime soon, you're probably at the wrong PT. Right.
Like, I don't think this is where I should be.
Yeah, exactly. and that's serious. Like you really want to be at a place when it comes to your back and fixing your back. You want to find a physical therapist that when you walk into their space, it looks like a gym. Because if it looks like a gym, that means they're not there to just figure out how to get you to a place where you can maintain your injury. They're going to work with you to try to fix it. And so that was a huge shift and a huge discovery that I made along my journey.
Yeah, and I think that's awesome. And I think one big thing that you had also mentioned was how you had to advocate for yourself. I got a book recently. It's actually funny enough. It's called The Back Mechanic. It's by Dr. Stuart McGill.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
So Dr. Stuart McGill, for those of you who don't know, he's this freaking genius when it comes to just like back anatomy and rehabilitation. He does a lot of, that's like his specialty. That's all he kind of does. He's a physical therapist. He has been for ages. And so one of the things that he mentions in that book is to advocate for yourself when you are talking with like doctors or somebody who's trying to address your situation. And just like, if you feel like they're not taking the time to like hear you out, and they're not actually looking into the situation of what's going on with you, you need to find somebody else. And he says that in the book. I'm like, well, all right, there you go.
Yeah, it's really good advice.
If somebody's not going to give you like the time of day when you have a serious injury like that, you definitely should be trying to find someone else. And it was interesting because he mentioned something like that as well, even about like surgeons and stuff. Like if you're going to get surgery and the guy is like, oh yes, like, you know, my first time, but I've done lots of like shoulder surgeries and stuff. It's like, if he hasn't done a lot of things regarding what your specific issue is, then you need to be very skeptical. You need to actually really think and advocate for yourself. Do you feel like that's going to be a good choice for you?
For sure. For
And
sure.
so I think it's awesome that that's what you did. You were able to kind of just realize, okay, this is a very serious situation. I don't want just anyone telling me what I should be doing. And you took it upon yourself, and you're kind of it seems like you're on the tail end now, and you're just crushing it.
But I mean, I think when I first started, I knew nothing, right? And so I went and did what my friends were telling me to do or my parents were suggesting. So I went to a chiropractor first.
Yeah.
And going to a chiropractor, at least the one I initially started with, that actually helped for like the first 2 months. And I saw that I saw and experienced improvement in my back health. But what ended up happening is I started going to the chiropractor. I think I was going weekly at first, and then I was going bi-weekly, and then I might have got to a point where I was going monthly towards the end of my time there, and then I switched chiropractors in between because my original chiropractor retired. And what chiropractic taught me is that it's a terrible thing to do long term, especially if you're doing it weekly. At least it was for me in my case. It might not be for others, but for me in my case, I think what it did is it created more instabilities in my spine, because after about 6 or 7 months of going to a chiropractor, and I also hired a personal trainer at that time, and we were doing a lot of stability training. We were hitting my glutes really hard. We were hitting core really hard. We were doing what you would say were like all the right things, but what we were not doing was a full diagnosis of like where my weaknesses were in my back. And what I mean by that is like my posterior chain was super weak. Like even when I was with their personal trainer, if he told me to bend over and do like a single leg RDL with like a 5-pound dumbbell, my back would be killing me bending over. And so instead of addressing that, we just avoided it, right? And we went and modified it and went to a different exercise in order for me to be able to work that muscle group, which in a way is correct, but in another way, not taking a moment to pause and ask the questions of like, why does Jerome's back hurt when he bends forward, but doesn't hurt when he bends backwards? Right? Why does it hurt when he leans to the left and not when he leans to the right? Why does it hurt when he does a cobra and not when he's doing like cat cows? Right? Those are all the questions that like an expert that you're paying to help you should be asking and like working with you to figure out and weed out. Because going to the chiropractor, just going back to that, like my back just got worse. It went from getting better and better for about 2-3 months, and then it just like quickly declined. At the same time, I was going to the personal trainer, and I was super strong. Like my glutes were super strong, my hamstrings were super strong. My lower back was still super weak because we had been avoiding it, remember? And we hadn't been touching it, but my upper back was super strong. And I was just creating all these imbalances in my body, and I was creating a ton of instability within my body because I was lifting heavy weights with a really, really, really weak spine. And I was getting adjustments every week, and somebody was like pushing on my spine and popping my spine in the spot where it was super weak and tender. And the combination, man, it led to me having a summer last year where I went for a run and got back home and my back started going out, and I was kind of I wasn't able to like stand up and all that stuff anymore without Katie helping me, my wife. And then from that point forward, for like 4 or 5 months, I couldn't sit down anymore. And me sitting on the couch became like a huge trigger. Me sitting in my car to drive became a huge trigger. Like I would get in the car and drive for 5 minutes and then pull over and just lay back and recline the seat and just wait for a couple minutes. And then I would drive for another 5 minutes and then and just pull back over and just wait for 5, right? Because it was so bad. And I had to spend like a month I had to end up working remotely for like a whole month in July last year because I couldn't drive anymore. And I couldn't sit on the couch either. So I can't go to meetings anymore. Most of my job is sitting at my desk. I can't work at my desk anymore. I can't even drive, right? And so I ended up just like, thankfully my in-laws have a pool. So I'm just going and floating in the pool all day and working from the pool side. And it was like in that moment where I was like really being the question, like if maybe getting back surgery was like really the right decision, that I came across the podcast Restoring Human Movement by Dr. Sebastian. And he started talking about just like percentages a little bit. I don't remember exactly what they were, but the gist of it was essentially when you get back surgery, back injuries are really difficult to it's really difficult to identify in back injuries what's causing the pain. You can see through an X-ray or MRI, like if the disc is bulging or if it's herniated. But that doesn't always mean that that's what's causing your pain. And when I learned that, I was like, oh, maybe my pain is being caused by my hips. Because he started mentioning that people have back pain because of their hips being really tight.
Yeah.
Or they have back pain because their hamstrings are really tight. Or they have back pain because their glutes are really weak. Right. And he began to list off all these other reasons why people have back pain and all the reasons why you shouldn't get back surgery, because you get back surgery thinking that it's your herniated disc or your bulging disc that's causing the pain. But the whole time it was your hips. So you spend the time, get the back surgery, you go through recovery, and then your back still hurts.
Yeah.
And right. And so you start thinking, well, I just had a botched back surgery. But the reality was that no one ever diagnosed you correctly.
Yeah.
Right. And so listening to his podcast, like refocused me and helped me to understand. I was like, okay, if what I've been doing hasn't been working, what is it that I need to do so that I can get better? And that's when I discovered Stuart McGill. That's when Jack showed me Squat University, like Aaron Horse. And I began to really study. And the moment I began to study is like when everything started changing for me.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I'm glad that you kind of took it upon yourself to look up all these things or get reference for these things so that way you have like some of your own resources. Because I'll be honest, you very clearly, like, it's very obvious that like going through this whole thing, you've learned a lot from it. Mm-hmm. So I think it's you almost, I would be willing to say, you know, more than a lot of like the personal trainers out there nowadays, just because this has been something that's impacted your life so intensely that like you've taken it upon yourself and you've been like, I need to know what's going on.
Yeah. Seriously. Yeah, man. I mean, you have to advocate for yourself, to use that word again, right? And so advocating for yourself isn't just going to other people and asking them questions, but it's also doing the research yourself so you know what questions to ask.
Yeah.
And so when I finally did find, her name's Kim, she's at Lacoste PT in Sacramento. When I found her and I went and sat with her, our first meeting, I was asking her all the questions that I picked up from Stuart McGill, all the questions that I picked up from Dr. Sebastian, all the questions that I picked up from Squat University. Yeah. And like I came in with a lot more knowledge. And prior to that, I had been going to a bunch of different physical therapists and I didn't know what questions to ask. And so they were doing their little diagnostic, but they were just giving me the runaround essentially. They were like, oh, your core is weak. Oh, your hamstrings are probably just tight. They're like, bend over and touch your toes. Oh, you can touch your toes. You're super flexible. We don't know why your back's hurting. Well, I just have long arms. That's why I can touch my toes. Not that I'm not actually flexible. Like, and so it's just like silly things like that of them not actually taking the time.
Yeah.
Versus when I found Kim, I came in prepared. So when I came to her, I told her like what I thought was wrong. I told her, hey, I think my hips are part of the problem because I can't do 90-90s. When I'm trying to do a 90-90 stretch, I'm leaning way to the side. I'm almost laying down on my side.
Yeah.
Right. And like no other doctor up to that point had even thought to even look at my hips, which is crazy now that I'm on the side of it. I'm like, that's the first thing you should look at when someone comes over to back pain. And so she took me through like an 1.5 hour long diagnostic, trying out everything. We did mobility stuff. We like bend over, touch your toes, lean to the left, lean to the right, try to twist. We did 90-90s. We did glute tests. We did like hamstring tests. We did tests where you like sit on these like this. It's like a plate that tells the PT if you're leaning to the left or to the right, if you're out of balance. Like she gave me like the full gamut of tests. Yeah. And coming out of that, she realized, or we began to theorize that the first thing that we need to do is like loosen up my hips. The second thing that we need to do is we need to start actively bending. I need to start bending over.
Yeah.
And I need to be able to do that before we can do anything else.
Yep.
And so she gave me like some easy stretch, like an easy exercise where you just lean against the wall and you literally put your butt against the wall and it's just, you're teaching yourself how to hinge correctly. Right. And you bend over and then you come up very slowly.
Yeah.
And you started, I think I started with 5 and I was in agonizing pain, but I was in pain. And she's like, okay, then tomorrow try to do 6. And next day try to do 7. Yeah. And that's what I did for like the first 2 weeks. And my back, it was crazy how like within 2 weeks, my back stopped going out. Like my back hasn't gone all the way out ever in about a year.
Yeah.
Over a year now. Cause
that's awesome.
Yeah. So just having a person who takes the time to correctly diagnose you. And then it also is okay with being wrong. Cause sometimes she would think it was something and it would be wrong, but then she would just retest it. And then we would try a different solution until we figured it out.
Yeah.
And so even just being with someone who's patient, right?
Yeah.
And that is like that was like the pivotal moment, like in my back journey, going from kind of being at a point where I was like, I'm at a loss and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
To beginning to do my own research, to then finding a PT that when I walked into their facility, it looked like a gym, and they were like a sports fan. Like, they work with athletes. That's who they work with primarily.
Yeah.
Like, and then having someone who's willing to take time to talk to me and like really diagnose me, like those were the things that really led to me finding success over the last year.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I'm really happy to hear that, man. Yeah, you've come a long way in that aspect. So I'm glad to see that you've recovered well.
Thanks, man.
I want to bring it back for a quick second. So we were talking a little bit ago, and one thing you had mentioned was like after having you had one back reset during the year of recovery, and you had started to wonder like, okay, maybe I should have gotten that back surgery. I kind of want to take a second to like look into that whole idea of like what your mindset was from like that initial injury all the way up until now. Like, how has your mindset kind of progressed in that aspect?
Yeah, I mean, I played sports my whole entire life, so I've never been a quitter. And so I think once I learned that you kind of have like a 50-50 shot with back surgery of it even being a solution, I immediately took it off the table for me. Because I was thinking, well, if I have a 50-50 shot, having back surgery, like you could have all types of things go wrong with you. You could have like nerve damage, like lasting nerve damage from back surgery. You can be paralyzed, which is like a smaller chance of that happening, but it happens. Or you could go through the whole back surgery and then your back still be in pain. And now you have like metal plates in your back, right? And that's permanent. That's forever.
Yeah.
And so once you do that, there isn't your ability to recover back to 100% it's impossible. You can't ever be back to 100% once you have back surgery, right? Because you have plates in your back. And so my thought was, well, I rather bet on myself being able to figure it out than bet on a neurosurgeon who spent 10 minutes talking to me before he decided that I needed back surgery.
Yeah.
And so my mindset was, well, I'm just going to figure it out. And so I just really started studying, man. And like I would talk to you about it all the time, and you would give me all these resources and suggestions and showed me a lot of different like ways in which I could think about it. And so I think having even like a friend that is knowledgeable about like how our body works and is a trainer, like that was a huge help for me. And so I just kind of figured I'm gonna gut it out. I'm gonna research it. I'm a smart guy.
Yeah.
You know, I've gone to school for a long time.
You went to college.
I went to college over and over again. I'm super educated. I'm educated, you know what I mean? And so I just figured I could figure it out myself. And so you showed me Squat University. I bought Aaron's book.
Yeah.
And reading his book and also listening to podcasts from Stuart McGill like began to give me a framework from which I could start with. So the McGill Big Three. Then with Aaron, like even like how he diagnosed his patients and like how he went about figuring out what was wrong with their body, right? I learned a lot just watching his client videos of him just like working with patients. I was like, whoa, okay, that guy is similar to he has a similar injury as me. Like, how did Aaron work with him, right?
Yeah. And
then I would go and try the things that he did in the video, and I would like do a little test on myself. I would read his book, and I would try to diagnose my own injuries, right?
Yeah.
And that really kind of gave me some momentum and some encouragement, and which led to me looking specifically for a physical therapist who works with athletes versus like I was going to like the one that my insurance covered, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And those ones were just for old people who were dying. Honestly, that's what you walk in. It's just all old people, and they're all just kind of on the treadmill, walking like 2 miles per hour.
Yeah.
They're on the little bikes, just pedaling, right? And so I was like, I was like, I don't think this is the spot for me, man. I feel like I'm aging as I'm in here. And so, I think those were the big keys there, just like recognizing that if the odds are 50-50 that surgery is going to be successful or not, then the odds are, then I took it as I'm better off just figuring it out.
Yeah.
Without getting back surgery.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which is awesome. And I think that's a great mindset to have because honestly, I mean, especially with how young you were, like, I mean, still are. Obviously. But like, but yeah, I mean, our bodies are very resilient still at this age. And
super resilient.
I think to take the chance on a 50-50 like that probably would not have been the right choice. Yeah. I think giving yourself the years to try and figure it out on your own
Yeah.
was a good way to go.
And like one of my mantras for life is that life is a marathon, not a sprint. And so I had to like shift from having the mindset of I was going to find this magical fix, this one exercise, this one stretch, this one chiropractor or physical therapist who was going to be able to just give me the key that unlocks my back to where I can be normal again.
Yeah.
And that is not the reality. Even Kim being as amazing as she is, she only took me so far.
Yeah.
And then the next step that I've been able to take, I've taken because of my own research.
Yeah.
Right. And so you have to have the mindset of like, especially if you're back to this point where mine was and it doesn't recover by itself after a couple months.
Yeah.
If it's like your first or second time injuring your back, most likely it just recovers and you'll be fine. And what you need to do then is preventative maintenance, right?
Yep.
But for me, like I've been actively in pain for the last two years, like in intense pain. The first year, like not even being able to go to work at times or be able to drive for like months. It was like 6 months of not being able to sit on the couch. It was like 6 months of not being able to drive very far.
Yeah.
Like it was a long time of like suffering.
Yeah.
And even after I found Kim, like I still couldn't sit and drive very long, right? And so if my mindset had been like, oh, well, she failed me because I'm not better after the first month of PT, then I would still be in the same spot I was in a year ago right now.
Yeah.
But because my mindset is like, no, it's a marathon. So how do I, because I ran track in high school, I was like, well, how did I run my races when I ran like the 400 or the 800? Like I paced myself.
Yeah.
Like I didn't start, especially with the 400. 400 is a fast, long distance run essentially, or it's a long sprint essentially.
Yeah.
So you can't give it 100% out the gate. You need to give it like 65%, right? And maybe you're going to coast in third place for a while until you get halfway around the track. And then the next 25% of it, I'm like, all right, I'm going to go 75%, right? And then at that point, you've already used a lot of energy. So at that point, when you hit that last corner, we have 25 meters left to go. Now I'm going to go full tilt, right? Yeah. I'm going to give it everything I have. And so I just figured like, okay, last year I'm at the beginning of my race. Even though it had already been a year of me trying, a year of being a chiropractor, me going to a personal trainer, and me failing and not making progress, my back getting worse. I'm like, okay, I'm at the beginning, right? So first, how do I run my race now that I know where I'm at, right? Yeah. Now that I have the right resources, now that I know where I'm starting at, like let me pace myself to run it well. Yeah. And so I think you just have to have you have to have the mindset of especially with back injuries. Back injuries can take a long time to heal, and you have to be very careful and very intentional about how quickly you progress in weight, how quickly you advance in exercises. Like you might just have to stay with a hinge exercise where you're just bending over, touching your toes for a month, which is insane. Like as a competitive person, like I'm over that after the first day. I'm like, all right, day 2, add weight. Day 3, let's like add a lot of weight. Day 4, we got the barbell out. You know what I mean? We're lifting weights, looking like men.
Time to max out.
Yeah. I'm a man out here. You know what I mean? I'm not over here just hinging against the wall with no weights. That's insane.
Like, so, I look like a child. Come on.
And I just had to humble myself. So a lot of it was like humility, like being more humble and just realizing, okay, I need to be okay not lifting weights for like the first time in my life, like heavy weight, and instead just doing a lot of body weight stuff or doing a lot of stuff with like a 15-pound kettlebell, and it not looking great, but it not really building like visible muscle, but it knowing that my consistency is what produces results more so than me having the appearance of success but still being broken. And that was what I struggled with the most. Of like, I wanted to have the appearance of making progress. I wanted to have my muscles back. Like I gained like 25 pounds. Like for the first time in my entire life, I had weighed 165 pounds for like 15, 16 years. And all of a sudden I gained all this weight because I couldn't exercise. I'm like, I need to exercise. But every time I did that, I injured myself. And when I eventually realized I just need to slow down and just be like, allow my body to tell me where I'm at on my journey versus me trying to tell my body where we need to be at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dang, dude, that is huge. It really is. I can't even begin to tell you how many people I meet and have met all the time who feel like they have to just always be lifting as much as they can all the time, even after they've been injured. Like I've met some people who have injuries actively, and they'll come into the gym and they'll be like, "Nah, yeah, I'm just, I'm doing this." I'm like, aren't you injured right now? And they're like, "Yeah," and I'm like, You
Stop
should
it.
probably, yeah, I'm like, you should probably be taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
And they're just like, no, it's fine. I'm all right. I'll get over it. Or it is what it is. And
Yeah.
it's like, dude, it's okay to like take a step back and just heal yourself.
Yeah.
And
And
I think it's huge because that
yeah.
honestly, it's one of the hardest things that I feel like people have with as a mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Is it's hard to be okay with being somebody who is very fit, very
Yeah.
athletic, and lifting like a 5-pound dumbbell
Yeah.
for like legs. It's like,
Yeah.
okay,
It's humbling.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that you were able to overcome that is a
Mhm.
very big feat just in of itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you have to ask yourself what your real goal is, right?
Yeah.
Like for me, my goal was like really personal. My goal was like when I have kids, I want to be able to like bend over and pick my kids up.
Yeah.
Like I want to be able to like sit down with my kid on my lap and not be in intense pain.
Yeah.
And I think because my like the worst part of my injury happened when I was in my late 20s. I think just being older gave me a different perspective of like I need to start thinking about what my next 10 years and 20 years and 30 years are going to look like versus trying to be the same athlete that I was when I was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not competing for anything anymore. In my early 20s, like I was competing to play, like college or whatever it was, right? I was lifting weights to keep up with my friends or to be stronger than everybody, right? Because I had found identity in that or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I was trying to be the most athletic and keep my athleticism. But I think in my later 20s, I just realized I was like, man, what's really a value in my life is that my body is actually healthy, that I feel good, and that I find a solution that is a long-term solution, not a short-term fix. And that shift in my mindset didn't happen overnight. It took time. Like it probably took like a year for me to get to that point. And honestly, when I got to that point and my mindset shifted towards that is when I started making a lot more progress.
Yeah.
Before that, when I was just trying to be the same athlete I always had been, like, man, I was jacking my back up, bro. Mm-hmm. Like every week doing something stupid. Every week. Without fail. Doing something stupid. Because I just wanted to be normal again. I wanted to play basketball again. I wanted to lift weights again. I wanted to like look like I used to look.
Yeah.
And I had to let that go.
Yeah. You gotta be like, okay, I need to take some time to let myself heal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, seriously, yeah. Time heals.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. That's incredible, man. That is a really good story. So I'm curious now, what has your life been like? Because you said the first year you had a lot of intense pain. This year's been doing a lot better, it sounds like. So where would you say you're at right now in your journey? Do you feel like you're, back to, 100%? Where would you say you're at right
now? I think I'm probably like right now, I'm close to like 85 to 90%. Mm-hmm. I think I got stuck at like 60 to 70% for most of this year. And then about super recently, maybe like a month ago, I discovered this YouTuber, his channel, I think it's called Low Back Ability. I think his name's like Brendan or something like that. And so I started watching his videos, and in one of his videos, he just talked about his journey and his process, and he explained how what helped him get from where I felt like I was at, where my back was better, but it was getting better, but I still had like daily pain, and I had like sciatica that would kind of come and go. And it's just like annoying stuff. It's like it shouldn't be there anymore, right? I'm able to deadlift now. I'm able to do like my mobility is really good, but why do I still have like lingering sciatica? Why does my back still hurt when I'm sitting on the couch and stuff like that when it's a lot stronger than it was a year ago? Yeah. And so I was watching one of his videos, and he just kind of explained what helped him was he stopped chasing like the rabbits. And what he meant by that was like, especially when you have a PT and you only see them like every couple weeks, like every time you go, you get a whole new set of exercises. Yeah. Which doesn't allow you to progress, right? Because you're supposed to be doing your homework in between, but nobody really does their homework in between. Or at least they don't do it as much as they should, right?
They say they do.
Yeah, right. So
we know.
And so the problem with that is that you work on a different set of muscles, or you hit it from a different angle, almost very inconsistently. Like so you give me, all right, this time you're going to do RDLs, you're going to do deadlifts, and then you're going to do some type of ab workout. And the next time you go, it's completely different set of exercises, right? So the progress isn't there. And that's my point, right? That's what I'm trying to get at. Yeah. And so with him, he was like, stop chasing the rabbits. Instead of trying to fix your weak glutes for 3 weeks, and then the next week you're trying to fix your weak hips, and then the next week you're trying to fix your weak labrum or the QL. That's the one.
Okay.
Your QL muscles, like, and you spend 3 weeks on that instead of jumping around. Just build out for yourself like a holistic back program that you're going to stick to.
Yeah.
For a couple months, and I made that mindset shift, and then I started realizing that I think I could hit my lower back with more intentionality.
Yeah.
And so I started adding in back extensions for like the first time, and like probably since I was in high school. So it's been over like 12, 14 years. And I was very patient. I started with no weight. And the first time I did it, it was literally just like doing a plank, but on a back extension machine.
Yeah.
On like the 45-degree one.
Yep.
And I just sat and I just held it for 25 seconds, and that was all I could do. And I was like, what the heck? I suck. I've been deadlifting and doing RD, and I can't even do a back extension hold for 25 seconds of body weight. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And that was when I started realizing, oh, okay, my posterior chain is still super weak. If I can't do a back extension hold with no weights for more than 30 seconds, then like all the things that I've been doing, there's something missing.
Yeah.
Right. And for me, what I realized was missing was like that for whatever reason, that back extension hold, man, that has seemed to be a game changer for me. All of a sudden, I don't have sciatica anymore. My glutes are a lot stronger. My hamstrings are a lot stronger. My lower back is significantly stronger. I went from doing 25-second holds, then I went to 45-second holds, and then I went to 60-second holds. I could probably do a hold with no weight now for easily over 2 minutes. Yeah. And then this has been 2 months. I slowly added in like a 10-pound kettlebell with my hold. Then I added in a 15, and every week I just add like 5 pounds.
Yeah. And
every week my back has gotten better and better and better. And then I've added in Jefferson curls with no weights.
There you go.
And then I added in Jefferson curls with like a 15-pound dumbbell. And that's where I'm at right now. And then I'll add that in. Then I started doing good mornings. Same idea. I did good mornings sitting down with like a kettlebell, first with no weight. And then my back was killing me the first time, which is crazy to say. Then I added in like a little 5-pound. I was like, all right, a little something. Then I added,
now. Careful.
Then I added 10-pound, and I've been slowly adding these things in for the last 2 months now.
Yeah.
And my back has just been responding really well.
Yeah. And
I think it's because my foundation was set. I spent the last year just getting like foundational things set. Like my mobility is really good.
Yeah.
And my back was already stronger because I have been doing RDLs all the time, and I have been doing all these other things, right? And I've been squatting with the trap bar and all this stuff, right? And I think that back extension now was like that last little piece. And I mean, to be honest with you, it also started getting better after I had this old guy promise to start praying for my lower back. And he's like a missionary, and he's like, Jerome, I'm going to pray for your back. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And his wife was telling me that he's like someone who prays really well and prays hard for someone when he says he's going to.
Yeah.
And so I met with him, and we hung out, and then he told me he's going to pray for me. And then that next week, my back was the best it's been. And I also started doing all those other things too. So I think it's I'm like a man of faith. So I think it's a mixture of things, right? I think, I think his prayers worked. And I think also, I have found the right thing for my body exercise wise at this point in my journey.
Yeah.
And so back extensions wouldn't have worked a year ago because I needed to fix my mobility. My mobility was jacked, and I needed to do a lot of body weight exercises just to get that base strength first.
Yeah.
And now a year later, like it's been the key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you found what works really well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have no more sciatica. I have like for the first time in over 2 years, I don't my back hasn't hurt at all today. I haven't. This is the first time This is the first time I even thought about it. To be honest with you, today.
I'm sorry to forget about it.
Yeah. I was like, wow, I feel really good.
That's awesome.
And I was like, man, there was a point where I was like, man, I'm just gonna have back pain the rest of my life, and I'm always gonna feel it, and never gonna get past this. And like, it's crazy, and it always happens like in just a random moment, right, where you finally make that next step and take that next leap to where like you progress. But it takes you grinding it out and having I think the mindset of a marathon runner rather than a sprinter.
Yeah, I agree. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is an incredible story.
Thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think I've got one more question for you, kind of more so just to kind of understand what you've kind of to encapsulate everything that you've been through. What would you say, like, if there was anything that somebody who has an injury can take away from your story? What do you think is a big like key takeaway that you can offer as advice for somebody?
Yeah, I think my first piece of advice is that there's always a solution. And I think in America, we jump to surgery far too quickly, because it prevents like the illusion of an easy fix. But the reality is, that surgery has a significant impact on your body.
Yeah.
And if you get surgery at the wrong time for the wrong injury without the correct diagnosis, I think it can be detrimental to your recovery. And so I think the first thing is like realizing that your lack of education in regard to your injury in your body is a huge barrier to you finding healing. And so the solution to that is you just educating yourself and not relying on your doctor or your chiropractor or your personal trainer or your physical therapist to be the one that knows everything about your body. Like you need to educate yourself too, so that you can begin to diagnose yourself, right? In partnership with whoever it is that you're working with the expert that you're working with. That way you get the person who went to school for it, so they have the head knowledge, right? But you have the body knowledge. It's your body. Like you're the only one that can tell them if something's hurting and why it's hurting.
I agree.
Right? Or when it's hurting, right? And the piece that you need to learn is why, right? And so I think those two things are super important. And then of course I think just your mindset of having like the mindset of like I'm gonna grind this out and not quit, because breakthrough and like success all come from you consistently doing the right things for a long period of time, for a prolonged period of time. And so if you're not willing to put in the work, if you're not willing to like, I've gotten up every single morning for the last 2 years. I get up in the morning and I do cat cows. And then after cat cows, I do 90-90s. And then I lay on my back and I do open books. And then after open books, I do like the greatest stretch of all time. And I do my little lunge stretches and stuff like that. And then I pick up my kettlebells and I do a quick look, right? I've been doing that for 2 years. I've been doing all the little things consistently. Yeah. Right. And so it's not like I've just been like, none of these things have like happened overnight while I've just been laying in my bed or sitting on the couch watching TV. I've been like actively researching, and then I've been actively doing all the things that I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah. And then
can I just stop you for one quick second? Let me tell you, you are saying all the right things right now. You are like if you ask any trainer ever, like they will describe the perfect client would be like everything you just said right now.
Oh, thank you.
They're like just
doing tell my wife that. You know what I mean?
Just doing all the little things all the time. Like we ask for that all the time. Like you said earlier, it doesn't happen. But what you doing that? Oh my goodness, that brings joy to me. Let me tell you.
I appreciate it.
I apologize for interrupting.
No, yeah. And I think but I think you have to be consistent. You have to be willing to, in a sense, suffer for a season as you're figuring things out. And I think you just have to fight. Like you're the only one that's going to ever fight for your own health. Yeah. Like no one else is going to fight for your health. Other people might care about your health, but only you can actually fight for your health. Yeah. And so I think you just have to have a fighter's mentality of like, I'm going to figure this out, but you need to educate yourself. So you know what punches to throw, you know when to bob and weave, right? And you understand the fight that you are fighting. Yeah. And so I think all of those pieces, add in a little bit of luck. And if you're a religious person, add in prayer and God's faithfulness and his direction and his guidance, right? Yeah. All of those elements lead to success. And I think everybody's on their own journey. Some people, their journey is a couple months and they're good, or even a couple weeks. Other people, it could be years. Some people who might listen to this podcast, maybe have had back pain for decades, right? Yeah. And I think no matter where you're at and which one resonates with you, like you have to have that mentality of like, I'm going to educate myself. I'm going to fight for myself, and I'm going to go and figure this thing out. Like I'm not going to take being in pain for the rest of my life as the outcome for me. And I think that's been my mindset. And there were a lot of days where I was like, man, this is going to be it. This is it. Right?
This is all I got.
And then there's days like today where I'm like, wow, after like 2 years of just fighting and educating myself and doing stretches every single morning and then doing kettlebell workouts and all this stuff and like watching all these videos, like it's crazy to be after 2 years to be at the point that I'm at now where I could go a whole day and not have back pain. Because even 2 months ago, that wasn't my reality. And so God is good, man. And it's got to be faithful.
I agree. Yeah, that's incredible, man. I appreciate. Yeah, I mean, I know I've said it multiple times, but I really appreciate you coming out here, being willing to come on this episode and share your story with everyone. Because that's really, I mean, I want to help inspire people to understand that you play a big role in your body's outcome, and you have the ability to take charge and advocate for yourself. And if you want to recover from any injuries, or most injuries, I should say, some, depending on what they are, but from a lot of injuries, like, you have that ability to just take it in your own hands and find a way to get it fixed. And so I really appreciate you coming out and sharing your story, man. This was, I mean, I always love hanging out with you, but this was a good time, and I appreciate you coming and doing this. So thank you.
I appreciate it, Jack. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, of course. And for everyone out there, if you guys enjoyed the story, enjoyed the podcast as well, please leave a like, share, subscribe, all those good stuff, and leave some comments if you guys have any questions for either him or me. And I'm always here trying to reply to them as often as I can. So yeah, thank you guys so much for coming out and giving us a listen. So take care, guys, and we will see you around.
Peace.
See you.